What is going on? And welcome back to the Red River Horror Podcast. I am your host, Joe Zakrzewski. This is episode number 21, and I am joined today by my good buddy, Steve Feese. Steve, how are you today?
Joe, I am doing fantastic. Long-time listener, first-time talker.
I know, how exciting. So glad to have you. As you know, we've said in previous episodes, we wanted to try and have more people involved, getting other people on. So here we are, starting with that. And one of the reasons why, you know, is interesting to have friends come on, especially friends that are from different areas. Like, even though when I had Evan on, he comes originally from Erie, PA, but was talking about a story from Conshohocken, but he had no stories of ghost ships on Lake Erie or anything like that. And then you grew up.
That would be great.
Wouldn't it?
I wish he had that.
I know. So we were talking about once, getting through the pandemic, and once it's like, easier to travel around, getting out there and seeing what we can find.
Interesting. And, there definitely has to be like Lake Erie.
Oh, yeah.
All of those like ports and all that stuff. Yeah. And it's cold, it's winter. I'm sure there's a lot of and the boy went out on the roof and he never came back in. And on every third night of the full moon, you can see the boy's face.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely something.
Yeah. And he just doesn't know it.
Yeah. And it's,
that's fair.
Not his thing, and that's okay. I'm sure if I talked to his parents, they would probably have a story. So, but either way, I mean, that's the thing. So you grew up in Shamokin, Pennsylvania.
I did.
Yeah. So
fortunately, yeah.
Not many people know where that is.
No. So Shamokin is about an hour north of Harrisburg. So middle of the state. We probably consider ourselves. I say I'm from Central PA. We're definitely get thrown in there with northeastern PA as well. So it's kind of all in the middle there, but coal country.
Yeah, it's coal country.
Yeah, born on coal, died on coal. I mean, it's in the last 100 years. So 1920s when coal was king and everything was booming. I think Shamokin had about 21,000 people. Population today is 7. So in 100 years, dropped 2/3 of its population.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's crazy. And you moved here for opportunity.
Yeah, there's not a lot up there, and it's unfortunate. And if you're in more, I'll say government-y type of industries, you're good. So teachers, hospital, prison. Those type of things that are a little bit more on the government side. There are jobs aplenty, and that being said, in business and sales.
Yeah, and there's a few distribution centers and stuff like that.
Yes,
so,
absolutely. Yeah, it's cheap land, so you have a Wegmans distribution, Walmart distribution, Lowe's is up there.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of that.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing is, so the first time I went there, so we know each other from playing music. Most people, everyone who knows us knows that.
Yeah.
But so the first time I made the drive up to Shamokin, I was blown away just by the scenic views.
Oh, it's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's Appalachia.
Yeah.
But not when, you think Appalachia, you think Hatfield, McCoy, But it is the Appalachian Mountains, and it's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
The people will come there to look at the leaves the same way that people from New York will go up to Massachusetts to look at the leaves. And
being that this is, RedRiverHorror.com's podcast, if we were to associate that with horror, think of all the great horror movies that have great intros with that kind of overview of the leaves changing colors through rolling hills. That's the drive.
Single lane road.
Yeah.
2-lane road, I guess.
Yeah.
But going through, you can't see a house anywhere, just tree lined. Gorgeous.
Yeah. And then the one thing that always makes me laugh, because it's the only reason I've ever been to that area other than visiting friends at Bloomsburg, even though that's another 45 minutes east.
It depends.
Yeah.
So it for sake of this conversation, sure.
So is it for me going up to that area was either for Knoebels
Yeah.
Which I know a lot of people from the Philly area just associate with the Poconos.
Yeah.
So that's why you guys get the Northeast confusion.
And that's also the other one. So I started by saying about an hour north of Harrisburg, but that's usually the biggest one where you meet someone and say, well, do you know where Knoebels is? Oh my God, yeah, absolutely. And it's like, okay, well, 15 minutes from there.
I love Knoebels.
Yeah. Oh my God, I love Knoebels. And then I can go into, well, I used to work at Knoebels. I was a ride operator at Knoebels. Oh, well, what rides you do? None of the fun ones, None of the coasters.
The bumper boats.
Bumper boats were some of the best years of my life.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can't say it's the Phoenix or any of the roller coasters, but it was still really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. At least you're catching hot day. Being near water is kind of cuts the heat a little bit.
It does, except that it smells like gas, and you have to go refill the boats, and you're covered in gasoline, and then some larger lady falls in the water, and you have to jump in to get her out.
Sounds
it's pretty
some magical summers.
It is
at Knoebels.
Yeah, nothing like the Jesse Eisenberg movie, Adventureland. Was that Eisenberg or was that the other one?
You know my thing with Jesse
They're all the same
Eisenberg and
person.
Michael Cera, the same person, but it's Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's not Michael Cera.
It's not Michael Cera. But and then the other thing that me and Eddie have gone to is Centralia, which you go by on the way. So for you guys growing up there, I mean, it seems like whenever I've talked about that area with you guys, it's kind of just like it's there.
Yeah,
it doesn't have the same appeal that did to us to be like, oh, the mine's still burning and Silent Hill's based on this, and it's like,
well, the Silent Hill thing came much later, and that wasn't even until the movie Silent Hill, and not even the game. So the game doesn't have as much of the lore of Centralia. And for anyone who doesn't know, Centralia is a town. Well, it was a town. There's still maybe about 10 people that live there, and they don't have a post office or anything like that. But there was a mine fire that started in, I want to say, the 70s.
Yeah.
I know it definitely went into the 80s, but there was a mine fire that basically engulfed the entire town. It still rages today, and they just bulldozed all the houses. And it's pretty neat to go there.
Yeah.
Because you just have this layout. So imagine any small city, or small town, I guess I should say. And you have all the blocks, but there's no houses on it. There's trees, and the streets are still paved, but you just have a layout of a town without a town. It's eerie.
It's a total trip, especially when you get up onto that part of the highway. I don't think, was that highway ever actually in use, or it was just under construction?
Yeah, so that was Route 61. And Route 61 went right through there.
Yeah.
And then the fire got so close that the road just started buckling. So they had to literally route around that road and just shut it down and just build a different section of the road.
Yeah. I mean, it's like you get like a chill. Like I did, there's the fun part of like the graffiti and all that, but more so when you get to the right spot, you can see where once was a town, and the earth, like, even though it's been raised, like the town was raised, there's no buildings. You can tell, like this plot was like the downtown area. Now it's just all, the earth took it back. And then the Silent Hill aspect is there's that Russian Orthodox church up at the top of the hill, and you can see that. And then there's that and like a couple graveyards, and that's it.
Yeah. And then Silent Hill also took, in certain sections, there's these giant standpipes that they put into the ground to just release the gases, so there's not just underground explosions all the time. So Silent Hill took that as well. That's like another thing. But it really was just kind of one of those things like, it exists. It's in Australia.
Like, that's what's funny is like, because like, if you hear us talk about it, it's like, whoa. And so I was always like interested when you guys were just like, you go back there, you drink beers and carry, like, act like kids.
Yeah. Yeah, basically.
And that's that.
Yeah. That's pretty much what it was.
So
that was all we did.
Oh my gosh, speaking of kids, ignore those people. They're coming through.
Speaking of dumb things you did as kids.
But yeah, so that was the one thing that always interested me. And then with the whole coal region itself, doing those drives is like, those towns used to be bigger and used to have so much more than they do now. And then you just drive through and there's like those abandoned rows of homes.
Yeah.
I mean, and maybe I'm just being a city jerk by saying they're abandoned. Maybe they're just not upkept because I think people actually live in some of them.
Well, it's definitely half and half.
Yeah.
There are some towns, especially like Schuylkill Haven and like the Schuylkill County area. You just go through some of those like Minersville and these downtowns that you definitely were bustling, and now it's just empty store fronts. And, not to speak poorly of that area, but it's just a unfortunate fact of how it is.
It is. And it's like, just the way my mind works is I catch like more of like the vibe, kind of like a, ghostly feel of like what's turning into a ghost town.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's pretty cool. It's worth the drive. If you got nothing else to do during a pandemic, why not just take that drive up 61?
Yeah. And it's definitely a lot of people, they love to go through with like motorcycles and they'll do like big drives up there because, again, it's gorgeous. There's nothing around. You're not going to hit traffic probably. And if you do, just
you're
slide
just
around
get stuck behind a truck.
Yeah.
That's the worst case
with all the
scenario
with all the
traffic.
distribution centers, you're definitely going to get stuck behind a truck.
Yeah.
But that's the other thing about that area is that there was nothing to do. And that bred stories of people doing weird things and stories of really just boredom of, oh, well, you know what? If you go to this town, there's X, Y, and Z, and if you got to go up Snake Road, and if you take the third left after the tree marked with the X, that's where all the Satanists go, and like all that kind of stuff. And it just came from, of course, just making stories, and that's what kids do. But there really is just a giant culture. I'm going to call it a culture of you just go out and you go in the woods and you drink, and that's all you do. And I know you guys did that down in the city as well. I guess it's a little bit different for you being in Andorra.
So yeah, I mean, our woods, that's part of like Fairmount Park, one of the largest urban parks in the world.
Yeah.
So I mean, but it's also I can walk right through it. The woods we're talking about for years are vast.
Yeah, these are woods that you can drive for. You find an old road that is probably illegal for you to be on. It is owned by like an old coal mine or something like that. And you can just drive for 10 miles. Just
nothing
in the woods. Maybe you'll hit a pothole. Maybe you'll have to slow down a bit. But there's just random roads that are just cutting through old coal hills.
That's trippy.
And if we would have met like 5 years earlier, that like, I mean, hell, probably 3 years earlier, like that was something we did. We'd throw a bunch of pallets on the back of a truck and just go out and start a fire. Maybe someone gets some tires. You just start a tire fire. They burn all night. You come home, you're covered in black soot. And yeah.
Is that what you guys call some hoe-butt shit?
That would be hoe-butt shit
for
sure. That would be, out the mountain, up the bush butt, and all the, for anyone who, I guess we made it this far without even mentioning maybe what Schmoken's most famous for at this point.
No. The Tosh.0.
The shithole of the week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so a girl burnt down our Dunkin' Donuts, but not really. She just lit a fire in the bathroom, and it became a pretty viral clip of a woman, her name is Edna, talking about her cold coffee. And I think you guys might have talked about that even on...
Oh, on Talking Nerdy we watched.
Yeah.
We watched it over and over again.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, I couldn't get enough of it because it was, I tell the story all the time about the first time I went into that Dunkin' Donuts. That's how it started.
Yeah.
We first heard the legend of the Shamokin Dunkin' Donuts.
Shamokin Dunkin' Donuts is legendary. Yeah. For anyone in that area, they will have the longest lines that you'll ever find for a crappy Dunkin' Donuts.
I mean, it's incredible because, same thing. First time going there, I got there at night. And then the next day when I was leaving, you know, it's like I hardly saw any cars. Next thing you know, I'm leaving and there's just a line out into the street.
Yeah, into the street.
For the Dunkin' Donuts drive-thru.
Yep.
So
and that's every morning because that's another area. Like they're essential workers.
Yeah.
Everyone's still going to the hospitals, going to the prisons, going to the schools. Like
they
schools aren't shut down up there, and
they need coffee.
And you need your coffee.
There's Turkey Hill right down the street, though. But I guess nobody wants Turkey
Hill. And there's
Hill.
multiple like local coffee shops too.
Yeah.
That are much better and the same price, but they don't have a drive-through.
There you have it.
That's it right there.
The horror of getting out of your car. How could you? But I don't know. Either way, so like, what you know, what are like the what we're going to talk about? There's another one thing I wanted to ask you about before when we didn't check it out, but hopefully we can get back up there.
The Frankenstein's cave.
Yeah.
Okay. So much like any town. Like so growing up, we had all the same stories that like you talked about on past episodes, like the woman in the old house, the broken down, you know, old factory that, you know, had a ghostly thing going on, like basically any abandoned building. And if you couldn't find or realize from the conversation, there was many of them, always had something with it. But there is, and it's a few blocks from my house. So much like we probably all did who are of our age, basically get on your bike, you leave the house, you're gone all day, it doesn't matter, or you get on the bus and you go down to the city and no one knows. So we would leave our little small town, and I to kind of circumvent it, I grew up in a smaller patch of Shamokin that's actually in the township around it called Cole Township, even more so, and then our small village called Ranshaw. So there was a small town that was kind of outside of Shamokin that I grew up in, and we were kind of more where industry was and more of the industrial buildings. So the Walmart was there, Kmart, Ames, all the grocery stores. So between my house and Kmart, there was this little path, and behind that path was this cave that had the facade of it essentially looked like the skull of Frankenstein. So big head, the neck, bolts coming out. And you could, a full body could fit in there. I don't know if I could fit in there today, but as a 10-year-old, I definitely could get in there. And it looked inside like an old subway station. But that would make zero sense because that would never exist in that area. To this day, I still don't know what it was. Probably something railroad related, I would think, because there was a rail line there. Actually, the path that I would take was an old rail line. So probably something related to that, I would assume.
Yeah.
But the big thing of that was always that there was a girl killed there. There's no real story of this, and I'll bury the lead right from the get. But the story growing up as a kid was, don't go back there at night because there was a girl that was killed there who would lure you in, and then you would die
into Frankenstein's cave.
In Frankenstein's cave.
Ooh. And you guys never went for it?
I'm still here talking to you today, so I assume if I would have went,
you would never come back.
I would have never came back.
That's a good one though. I like that a lot.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And next time when things are not as crazy as they are right now, we definitely got to check that out.
Yeah. We get up there, try and get some video.
Yeah.
Try and get a camera in there.
Yeah. Right now, with the industrial lights that we could get and like giant floodlights, like we could light that whole place up, see exactly what it is. I'm sure there's probably an old something laying in there. I mean, probably a bunch of like old condoms and gross things, but
still.
Yeah. Well, that's what it always, isn't that what it always comes down to?
It's always beer cans and condoms.
Yeah. Beer cans, condoms, teenage hormones,
and
illegally drinking. And that's, I'm sure what a lot of it was that we saw growing up, but there was so much that I ran into on these like back dirt roads because we were kids. We were 12. We had nothing to do. So it's all right. Well, let's push our bikes through the woods. Let's go see what's up here. Let's go make a hut. Let's make a little play area. And then you just come across these like random ones where it's just like I don't want to say that it was. It's definitely pagan of some sort, or people just screwing with other people, which is always possible. But there would just be like rock formations that are definitely not Earth made, are definitely human made, and the other side of it is if you've ever been up there, it's a little bit of a red state.
Sure.
And anything outside of Pittsburgh and Philly was a red state. So we had a big problem with the skinheads.
Really?
In the 90s, like real bad. And I always chalk it up in the back of my mind that that's anything weird that I ever came upon, I just assume was like skinhead related.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of gangs. There was a prison up there, a state prison. So a lot of people and a lot of family moved close to be around that. So I always assumed that it was just that. But there's one that I will never. I could never understand it, and I don't know if even if I went back there today, like it would be completely different. But where we played for my brother's show for the benefit, so at the Brady, there's that like little picnic grove below there.
Yeah.
So that wasn't always. It's owned by the fire company now, so it's owned by the Brady Fire Company. But at one point, it was owned by the Rancho Civics Association, which was, whatever, just something for old people to go and drink coffee on a Tuesday once a month and raise money and, whatever. But we were kids and we were playing tag. So we'd always play like, lights out tag, like at night, big 10 on 10 people kind of like tag thing. And, there'd be a base and someone would always hide up there. So you'd go back there. And then the one night we just went back there and all it was bright lights. So there was no cars in the parking lot, and it was just all these bright lights and a fire in the center. And we went up there, we like tried to get into it, and you couldn't really see anything other than there was a fire in the center. And then we went back the next day, and there was like not even like beer cans or ashes from a fire, and still to this day. No explanation of what it was. Like
just something.
Yeah, and it was right behind the picnic ground. So like there is a little fire pit back there, and it was in that area, but the fire pit was not like burnt. Like
you can tell when a fire pit's been used.
Yeah, like the day before especially.
Yeah.
And like we went up there in the day and it was just like nothing.
Like as if nothing happened.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. And I still can't explain it. And I'm sure, like, there's probably, like, 2 other people that would even remember this.
Yeah.
And one of them is a giant bullshitter that I wouldn't even, like, ask because he would have a story that is probably 20 minutes longer than mine right now.
Sure.
And it'd be like, Dave, that never happened.
You just embellish it, just take advantage of the opportunity to.
He's a little bit of a storyteller.
Yeah. I mean,
say
that. I tend to do the same thing sometimes.
So that happens.
It depends.
So did you guys have like? Do you know what Gravity Hill is? Or like the phrase
Gravity Hill? I mean, is it just a sledding hill? Or?
No. So Gravity Hill is there. There's multiple of them in Pennsylvania. If you ever look it up, like there's one that's like Gravity Hill, but there's other ones, and essentially it's an optical illusion. But the history always behind it, or like the story always behind it is, so you go and you park on this road, and you can obviously see you're going downhill.
Yeah.
But if you turn your lights off, you put whatever flour, powdered sugar, or whatever on your hood, turn off all the lights, you're going to go backwards uphill, and there'll be handprints on your car.
What?
So. Never had handprints on the car, obviously, but there are these hills, and there's one up there that you are definitely going downhill, and if you put your car in neutral, you start going backwards uphill. And essentially, what I can ruin the illusion for you if you'd like.
It's starting to ring a bell because I think I saw like a video about this before, except they like put a ball on the hill.
Sure. So essentially, you're next to another road, and the road's going uphill, and the road you're on is also going uphill. But because of the way the grading is, it looks like you're going downhill because there's a road next to you that's going uphill. So it's still a trip. It's an absolute trip. And that was always the added piece was, all right, and you turn off all the lights, and you put flour on the hood, and whatever story of the week it was, she's gonna push you back up the hill. Yeah, it was always cool.
That's so crazy. Like, so you start going backwards, and then, you guys. I can't talk because like the hill we would do, like where we would stop, turn off the lights, you honk the horn 3 times. It's definitely not a safe place to do that.
Sure. No, this is
not like ready to piss your pants like while doing that sometimes, just from the adrenaline.
So there's this one night that I always think about, and I want to stay still in high school, and in high school I had the party vehicle. So my mom had a Chevy Astro van.
Nice.
Yeah. So like 98 Astro van, 8-person seats, the middle seat folds down, all that stuff. Like, it was the perfect thing of like, there'd be 5 or 6 of them. It's like, okay, well, it's cold out and we don't feel like starting a fire. Like, let's go sit somewhere in your van and drink, and the middle seat will fold down and we could play cards and we'll just have a good time. And then there was other times, and I'm sure my mom will never hear this, but there was other times that there'd be like 15 of us in the vehicle, and like a case of beer in the center console with someone sitting on top of that. McTavish would be riding shotgun. Then it'd be like, 4 across the middle, 5 across the back, 2 people sitting in the far back. And there was a night that we decided to do like all the haunts. So, we got beer. Listen, if there's anyone listening to this that is of a younger age, do not do what I'm condoning right here, and I'm not condoning this, but we'd get blackout drunk and just drive around.
Oh my God.
And speaking of Bloomsburg, so like on the way to Bloomsburg, there is a graveyard, and it's like a very, very small graveyard that is like off the road. So you take Route 45, if off the top of my head, I think that's what it is, between like Shamokin and Ewesburg, where Canopus is. So you would take that all the way to Bloomsburg, essentially, and there'd be some back roads and stuff like that. But if you take the one back road, there's this like little old family cemetery, probably has like 20 graves or whatever, but 2 of the graves have cages over top of them. So like full.
So we don't to avoid zombies, or.
So the story I was always told growing up was the kids were killed there were 2 kids, a boy and a girl, and they were killed by wolves. And their families put the cages over top of it because if they came back as werewolves, they'd be encapsulated in there and they wouldn't be able to get out. So that was the story I was always told growing up. I don't know the real story. I can speculate on probably what it was, and maybe like grave robber stuff.
I'll stick with werewolves.
But I'm gonna stick with werewolves. So 2 small little baby children killed by werewolves, and so we made the like trip. So we went there, and then we took the long road to Centralia, which actually goes by where that Gravity Hill is. So I was like, all right. So we all stopped there. It's like 10, 12 guys in a car. So like, of course, no one was scared. We were in high school, like. No one was pissing their pants, but the car went backwards. We did it like 4 or 5 times. It happened every single time. All right, cool. Then we went to Centralia, and Centralia was just, all right, we went here and drank beer. To bring it all full circle, Centralia was meh. All right.
Yeah.
There's Centralia.
Not catching the creepy vibes.
No, it's not. The creepiest thing about Centralia is to me, 2 things. So if you get like a good fresh snow, the patches that there's still like immense heat under the ground, that will be like not snow covered, and then everything around it will be covered in snow. That's creepy. And if it's the right kind of day, the cemetery smokes, which is really creepy. Yeah. Like that's pretty creepy.
That's really creepy.
Like it is a smoking cemetery. I guess again, like it's just like, that's just what happens in Centralia, but that's pretty pretty creepy.
It's very creepy. Like you catch that on a cold day, and when you see that,
there's a chill in the air already.
Yeah.
Then you're looking over a cemetery, and it's just smoke rising from the graves. Because it's rising from the graves, not like. And there are some of those smokestacks, but like it's just the heat coming
from the ground.
Yeah, from the ground.
Yeah.
I'm sure those bodies are nice and charred at this point.
Yeah.
You know, the nice thing though about those people that not the ones that are burning to death under the cemetery, but the ones that had to get relocated, other than like the 10 who just refused to leave. Like, and there's people that still live there.
Yeah.
And I assume like they have to have like every type of cancer ever. Like there's just
they're running that
sulfur fumes in the air.
Yeah, they're running that risk.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, so that's the other thing. Is like first time I went there, I was expecting it to be like kind of like I don't know, like I was anticipating these people being like the people that live there being like super standoffish and just like watching your every move.
Yeah, like Hills Have Eyes type of shit.
Exactly like a Hills Have Eyes type thing. And
and here comes these people coming to our town.
And it wasn't. It was more or less like it's like, well, looks like people are back here.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. It has such a cult following, but then also on top of that, a like historical significance to it. It is a real, like, it's a crazy thing that people study. So like schools will go and take trips there and everything, and it became a little bit of a topic of, and I'm not going to give them any advertising on this because I'm not a big fan of them, but a local news that came out of Shamokin, and I'm using the term news very, very tongue-in-cheek.
Keeping it loose.
Keeping it loose, very loose and tongue-in-cheek. But they went up there and did a live video because the spray paint road, they completely covered over now.
Right.
So, and it was during COVID, and people were going there because it was a party place. Like, everything else is shut down. Let's go party in Centralia. So they just filled the entire thing with dirt. And just got rid of all of it. You can't go up there. You can't spray paint your name, so you got spray paint on dirt. It makes no sense. So he went up there and he recorded a video that then got caught up on like CNN and MSNBC, and they were all like running this of like, even small coal towns in central PA are doing what they can to get rid of COVID. And it's like, no, not really.
If anything, covering it, like, so each time I've been there, I've seen like ATVs.
Yeah, definitely.
So you've just built a bigger ATV track.
Well, yeah, that's what it was. Like even like in the video, it's just a bunch of jabronis up there on quads, just zooming back and forth, getting drunk, and again, you know, going back to what I said, don't condone it, but that is the culture.
We should start a non-profit that helps like urban children who ride quads around the city and take them out to the countries. It's like, it's a lot safer. This is where they're supposed to be ridden.
Let me show you. Let me show you why this doesn't work great on Ridge Ave.
Yeah, we'll start a non-profit. We'll base it out of like West Philly or Kensington. Be like, kid, it's like, come up here. It's better than taking it out on Henry Avenue or City Ave.
You know, I'm surprised that something like that hasn't been made in the city yet. Like almost like an ATV park. Like, there's definitely enough of them.
Yeah, I mean the issue running that is just the overall danger, of someone ripping through on their own, and then like, you know, upkeep costs, whatever. I don't know.
No, I mean that's road upkeep. There's all that, and I mean that's a big thing that Shamokin's doing now too, is that Shamokin has now passed a bunch of these like ordinances where there's like an ATV park up there. It used to be where we'd go out and we'd party and everything, and it's now owned by I think it's by the county, and it's the Anthracite Outdoor Adventure Area, AOAA, something like that. Yeah, that acronym works.
Yeah,
so they now can ride their quads from this, like, from the mountains downtown. Like, oh, we want to go to whatever.
That's pretty sick.
All the restaurants that I'm going to say aren't chain restaurants. There's no chain restaurants in Shamokin except for Dunkin' Donuts and Wendy's, but a local restaurant. So they'll just drive their quads down.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah, for them.
Yeah.
Not for the people that live there.
Oh yeah, good point.
It's awesome if you're
like, oh man, that's great.
and that's what so much of it is. Like, it's a lot of people that come up from Philly, that come out from Jersey, that go in that area because it is gorgeous.
It is.
It's such a nice area, and they just tear up the streets, but they bring money to the area, and there's pros and cons of everything.
Yeah, that's the other thing I like about it. Like, is a lot of the things I love about, like, when we talk about, like, horror movies, it's like one of my favorite things is the scenery and the feel for it.
Definitely.
Not so much the actual, like, killing. And that's what makes me like doing that drive to Central PA so much. And, walking around those towns or,
It would be an absolutely fantastic area to film a movie. And I know there have been films shot in Shamokin.
Yeah.
I'd have to look them up. I could have did my research. I didn't. But
we could do it right.
We could do it right now.
We could do it right now.
But there are films that were shot in Shamokin. Probably some of them being horror movies. I could only guarantee. But it's cheap.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of traffic. You basically could get every good shot that you need it for, like, you just think about any late 70s, early 80s horror movie that just starts with that slow crane shot.
Yep.
Following the car down the road. Evil Dead.
Exactly.
If you think about the start of Evil Dead, that is exactly how every single one of those roads feel.
Yep.
So what'd you find, Joe?
Let's see. So it looks like, you've had some, like, I'm just finding, like, news articles where there's, like, people from the area who, like, came back to shoot.
Oh,
there.
yeah.
And it's because of the way that everything looks.
Yeah.
Like, especially, like, your block that you grew up on would be, like,
definitely
perfect. Just, like, I love the way that street's, like, kind of narrow.
Yeah.
And, like, last time we were up there, it had, like, a nice little fog.
Yeah,
coming through.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. So here's actually a perfect one. Vampire movie shot in Shamokin appears Saturday for world premiere.
Ooh.
It's a movie called Vanished. Matt Spade. And I would love to see this movie. I would be very interested of how I could get a copy of this. Matt, if you are out there listening, please hit me up on Instagram _Macho Man _Randy Travis _ Hit me up on Instagram. I would love to see this film. Or honestly, what I'm going to do is after this episode, I'm going to try and reach out to you and see how I can find this, because the only thing I can find about it is that they premiered it at our community arts center 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at here. They did a little short film festival with a sneak peek of it.
And
neat.
Oh, and here's a follow-up in April of last year. It's set to have a release in New York City. Interesting. Actually, there's a whole different movie. There's a completely different movie that was also filmed in Shamokin. Not a horror movie.
Yeah, here's an old casting call. I don't think whatever this is for. So it's called Fire on the Mountain, but I don't think it was ever shot. But interesting production description here. It's like, says for the casting, they're going to do a feature film. Synopsis is Fire on the Mountain is a relentlessly fun and clever addition to the horror genre that sees a centuries-old demon terrorizing a small town in Pennsylvania after it's lured out of a coal mine by several teenagers.
Interesting.
All right. Filled with a slew of endearing characters, memorable dialogue, and razor-sharp wit, the film is hilarious, thrilling, and at turns horrifying. Head-first plunge into the sun-soaked backroads and sleepy towns of rural Pennsylvania. Dazed and Confused meets Jeepers Creepers. Very interesting idea. Not sure if that ever happened, because this is just an old casting call.
I don't know if it did happen. I don't know how the Rotten Tomatoes looks on that one.
No, honestly,
to me, it would probably be so bad that it's good, and then all that local lore and all that kind of stuff that just really encapsulates that type of area in Pennsylvania. Which again, I know you talked about it on a few episodes back, Joe. Mm-hmm. But when this is done, or I guess even now we're sitting in the same room together. You're one of the few people that I actually see and talk to.
Yeah,
we should just take a weekend and be like, in January, let's just go to Central PA and just all this stuff still exists.
Absolutely.
Those werewolf cages are still there. Like,
Absolutely.
just get out of this area and see all the crazy stuff in Central PA.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot of the plans for fun for adding more local thing, like more physical things other than movies to redriverhorror.com. So I know that's something we will 100% do, and that'll just be so cool.
Definitely.
You know, and then maybe we'll awake a sleeping demon.
I hope not. I mean, kind of I would.
But if I'm going to go
this whole year's kind of been a sleeping demon awakened.
Might as well. We'll summon Cthulhu.
Yeah.
We'll summon Cthulhu from the coal mines.
Coal region Cthulhu.
Yeah, coal region Cthulhu.
Yo, bot. Gonna haunt your dreams. So if anyone is listening from that area, please reach out. Again, I'd love to know how wrong or right I am with everything that I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. We could do because that's the one thing that's cool about like you guys, your group of friends from up there. Everyone's everyone I've met, friendly folks.
Yeah,
and probably down to participate and break your balls.
Yeah, definitely. No, you're absolutely right. I mean, I have that's the best way to put it.
Yeah.
They'd break my balls on anything I'm saying that's just complete and total bullshit.
Yeah, because there's going to be other people from that area coming on at certain points. So like, like other friends that'll be coming on. I also reached out to mutual friend Dustin to come
nice.
on. I mean, his photography is so cool.
Yeah.
I'd love to, have him talk about it. And then he's also a film buff.
He is.
So,
he is, and he stands by his opinions very strong, which
he does, because sometimes once I have a few beers in me and I'm just on Instagram, he has all his posts, his polls.
Yeah.
So I'm just at the point where I'm like, these are too fucking hard.
Yeah,
I'm done.
He gets retweeted by, or I guess regrammed by like ABC6 and like all those places, but he has an Instagram, Stranger Philly, where he just takes photographs of Philadelphia. They're absolutely stunning. He has a great eye for it, but he always does these what movie do you like more, or spaghetti versus linguine, and it's like, of course I picked pasta, Joe's favorite, but he's been doing the last couple of days all like the Christmas movies, and there has been backlash. He did, oh my gosh, it was maybe Muppets Christmas Carol.
That's the one that freaked. It was Muppets Christmas Carol versus Mickey's Christmas Carol.
Yeah, and he had hate. He had people coming after him, like being like, "Dude, why would you even bring this up? This is ridiculous. Like, they're not even the same league. Like,
not in the same. I think they're very much. I think it's too hard to decide. Yeah, that's what I gave him shit for. That exact one. Yeah, I mean, it was funny. It's like that, and it was making me laugh because we were talking about that on the last episode about A Christmas Carol, just from like the scary part, like the Jacob Marley thing, and how that would give us the creeps as children.
So I had like some weird things that creeped me out as a kid. I had a Nightmare on Elm Street, not Nightmare Before Christmas, a whole different story. Nightmare on Elm Street board game.
Cool.
Don't know where it is at this point in my life.
Yeah.
But it had Freddy on the side of it. I had to sleep in my room facing the other way, because if I opened my eyes and I saw Freddy from across the room, done. I would not be able to sleep all night. The other one was Muppet Christmas. So I'm a very big Muppet fan. Probably my favorite franchise, especially definitely my like, call it blasphemy, whatever. My favorite Disney-owned franchise, the Muppets. On top of everything else, but Muppets Christmas Carol, maybe my number one Christmas movie. The cemetery scene in that scares the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Even to this day.
Yeah, we didn't even mention that part.
And that cemetery scene, I had a picture book. They would do those like 10 page, the whole movie in 10 pages somehow. And I had a picture book with that in it. I would skip that page.
Really?
It was just a picture of Scrooge in that.
Yeah.
And I would just skip it.
Dude, I mean, that's what amazes me, like the little things that scare you.
Yeah, just
when you're young.
stupid stuff.
You know, I mean, especially like, you know, everybody was
Picture on a board game.
a My Buddy doll.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Well, I'm a little bit younger, so like even more so, like that was already like Child's Play was already a thing by the time I had the cognizance to like understand.
Yeah, well, it's
My
like
Buddy.
that was like the thing. It's like my cousin had one, and you know, and that's like they scared me by telling me about It Comes to Life, and
Of course.
Chucky and all that.
Of course, it does.
Really, just kind of stuck with me.
Yeah. I just read something this past week how Michael Caine decided when he played Scrooge in A Muppet Christmas Carol that he was just going to play the whole movie as straight as possible. Mm-hmm. And like, if you watch it back, it's so like he just plays that whole thing straight. Like, not that there's Muppets around, nothing. Like, he is like doing a Juilliard just performance in that movie.
I mean, that's what makes it so good.
Definitely.
You know,
it is played for semi-comedy, tongue-in-cheek stuff, but it is played. That whole movie's played pretty straight.
Yeah,
even on the Muppet side.
Yeah,
like Gonzo's the comedic relief, but like Kermit's doing a pretty straight Cratchit. Like
it's not as it's silly where it needs to be.
Yeah.
Because, like, you know, my favorite's the Marley and Barley. So, you know, that's what makes the Muppets so so special.
That's not just that one, but that is kind of a, like, it's almost a, like, if Nightmare Before Christmas could be considered a Christmas movie and a Halloween movie, shouldn't, like, A Christmas Carol almost fall into that same realm? It doesn't have to be Muppets, but just like they're supernatural. There is a horror piece to it. There's ghosts. Yeah,
I think the only thing that holds it back is like Christmas is part of the theme of the movie.
It literally is in the title.
Yeah,
it's like, in the title.
Yeah. So it's like it's you know, so heavily on that. Whereas A Nightmare Before Christmas has Christmas in the title, but it's more, you know, there's these things from Halloween Town.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's how it combines the two. Not many other things can combine two holidays like that. Because, like, so here's one for you. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Yes.
Why is it a Christmas movie? Because my thing is, like, I like saying it because it's funny to say it is, but it's like Christmas isn't really.
I think a movie that takes place with the central time of being Christmas. So I think Die Hard's a Christmas movie, just in the same realm as Home Alone is. So
okay, you know what? That's a good point.
Like the central theme is that it is Christmas time.
Yeah,
but it is a, I don't even know what else to like heist movie, I guess, almost to a certain degree. But like,
yeah, it's like Christmas just sets up the circumstance for what we're
why
about
it's
to
going
say.
on.
Yeah.
So if Home Alone, if Die Hard's not a Christmas movie, it's Home Alone. Now, in the same vein, Goodfellas isn't a Christmas movie, but there is a pretty important scene of Goodfellas that takes place at Christmas.
Yeah. Well, that's because like the movie does a full timeline.
Yeah, it's over and over and over again. Yeah.
So,
but I think a Die Hard that takes place in a very small time frame, like Christmas movie.
Yeah,
I would say so.
Yeah, that's you. Okay.
Now then, with Dustin in mind, Batman Returns.
You know what? That's another one. It's like, is Batman Returns a Christmas movie? I mean, I guess so.
I want to make the case.
It's so heavily focused around the holidays.
Yeah. Like
I never would have thought about that.
No.
But if our standard for it is what you just said with Die Hard and Home Alone, then
Batman Returns is a
Christmas movie.
Absolutely. Which then, everyone put it on your list.
Yeah.
Batman Returns, Christmas movie.
Talk about movies that scared the shit out of me. That's Batman Returns always.
That, and that's almost like into that genre of like, it's not really a horror movie, but it just scares the shit out of you. Just the way that
Tim Burton's,
the
way he does like his visuals and stuff like that.
I mean, Edward Scissorhands, like that creeps me out more than scares me. Like even like Edward Scissorhands just has those like visuals that are more on the creepy side. And it's a weird dude that lives in a big creepy house, castle, whatever you want to call it, that has scissors for hands.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty creepy.
Yeah.
And then
And it has Vincent Price.
Yeah, and then Ashley Hurd shows up.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
Allegedly. Just throwing it out there. If you just throw an allegedly in there, everything's okay. That you say.
Amber Heard, blah blah blah. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, as long as you don't commit to it, you can say whatever. You can say whatever you want to be like. I didn't really mean that.
Yeah.
But so we're coming towards the end, and one thing it's like when we're going to do these special guest things because it is RedRiverHorror.com. Just try and throw out there. Give me. It doesn't have to be. You can give me like 3. It can be 1, whatever. What would you say is either like your favorite horror movie or horror franchise? And then what's one where it's like you saw it and I couldn't give you enough money to watch it again? Like just the absolute biggest piece of trash you've ever seen in the horror genre.
Oof.
Because I can give you mine right now. Mine's always going to be The Ring 2.
Interesting.
It's so bad.
So I'm going to start with that one, and I'm just going to say something that is maybe a little controversial. I do not like any of the American Horror Story stuff.
Okay.
Like it just doesn't do it for me.
Yeah.
And I like Nip Tuck. I enjoy that. I like anthology type of shows.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do American Horror Story. It's too. I think there's too much tongue in cheek going on in it, which people are going to probably get double slapped from both sides when I say this, that my favorite horror franchise is 100% Evil Dead.
Yeah.
So when you say tongue in cheek, I mean, the entire Ash character is after halfway through Evil Dead 2 is just tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
Ash became slapstick like halfway through Evil Dead 2, which is just a remake of Evil Dead.
Right. He just goes insane.
Yeah. And he just goes insane and becomes the Ash that we all know and love.
Yeah. I mean, I love all of them. I love everything. All the Evil Deads, Bruce Campbell. And it's like, oh, which one do you like better? It's like, I'm one of those people where it's the first one's always going to be my favorite.
Yeah.
And I'm always going to love that. And then even with like 2, Army of Darkness, it's like I still love them and I enjoy them.
Army of Darkness is probably one of my favorite movies, period. It has to be, if it's not in a top 10, it's at least in a top 15 for me.
Yeah, and it's just like, it's a real shame because like Ash vs. Evil Dead didn't get a fair finish. No,
absolutely not.
And I thought the show was great. It was so much fun.
It was perfect for what it was.
Yeah, I mean, it just took it and was just like riding that wave of
the nostalgia that was coming along, and the fandom never left it. It did both Evil Deads and Army of Darkness justice.
Yeah,
like it didn't super camp anything up any further than those movies are camped to begin with. But yeah, it was great. I'd say the other franchise that and it's selected, but Scream. I mean, Scream.
Not a fan of Scream.
No.
Okay,
I'm saying. All right, American Horror Story. Ugh.
American Horror Story is the one where it's like I couldn't pay you to watch it.
But I mean, I guess technically you could because Ashley watches it all the time. I watch.
So you don't have a choice.
So I don't have a choice, but she really enjoys it.
You don't care for it yourself.
No, I've seen 2 seasons. I've seen 1 full season of it, and that was the. They're filming a reality show to Haunted House season.
Okay.
It was bad. And I think it was critically bad as well.
Is that Hotel? No, that's not Hotel. I can't remember.
I don't know. And one of the past ones here, which was like the 80s campy one, that again, it was just too tongue in cheek. They're killing Oingo Boingo and whatever the hell is going on. It
gets too silly.
Yeah.
Whereas the first season was like really good.
But you couldn't pay me to go back and watch it.
No.
You couldn't. I wouldn't.
No.
I mean, you probably. Listen, as the $1 Million Man says, everybody's got price, but there's definitely a price to it, but I wouldn't want to do it.
Okay.
But Scream franchise, Scream 2, 3, whatever. Mm-hmm. But Scream 3's the garbage.
Yeah. It was just a commercial. It was a cash grab.
Yeah. 1, 2, 4.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. I love Scream 3 soundtrack, which is just something I've always loved because like I even had like the CD.
Well, that was that time that if there was any blockbuster movie coming out, it had an amazing soundtrack.
Yeah.
It was, you know, if it was a movie like that, it was some sort of heavy Manson type of stuff like going on. And then you had the best one, which maybe the best late 90s, early 2000s soundtrack. Not Another Teen Movie.
Yeah.
Which was just all like heavy industrial covers. I mean, there were covers of weird 80s songs. Like,
yeah. I mean, that was like the fun of it.
Yeah.
And that was like, well, that was also like a thing in a lot of those 90s movies that like you might forget about. Because like, so like I Know What You Did Last Summer, like when went back and watched that for the episode we did on it. It's Typo Negative doing a cover of Summer Breeze.
Yep. you shared that like a couple months back.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is not.
I did. Like, this is a nightmare.
Yeah. It's a trip.
Yeah.
It is a literal nightmare. And ladies and gentlemen, we have in the studio Typo Negative. They're going to play the song out. No, we don't have Typo Negative today.
No.
They're probably not bagging anymore, I'm assuming.
I don't think so. I mean, they might be.
Yeah.
Maybe still going on. I was never big on them.
No.
So, what are you going to do? All right. So, we have favorites, Evil Dead franchise, Scream franchise, American Horror Story. Not a fan.
Nope.
Nah. And that's okay. I mean, so like, you know, my fiance also is a big fan of it. So that's how I started like watching again, just because it's on. And you know what? I now thinking about it after this conversation, what I would like to go back, maybe just that one season of Nip Tuck with the Carver.
Ooh, I would
talk about a show that's not a horror show with a.
You could pay me to watch that season again
with a great horror element. The Carver.
I am not going to say that I'm an SJW. Is that a bad word? I don't know, but I wonder how. There's probably a lot of stuff in Nip Tuck that doesn't pass the smell test in 2020.
Oh yeah, 100%. There's,
but I do want to go. I do want to go back and watch The Carver now.
Yeah,
I've been trying to convince Ashley to watch True Blood for a while, but like I only want her to watch. Like, can we just watch like seasons like 1 through 3, and then we'll just cut off again?
Talking about that getting a reboot.
First, I'm hearing of this.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that.
True Blood, another chance.
Or sucky.
Yeah, it's a shame. That's such a good show that just
fell off.
Yeah, I mean that's the same thing just in TV in general. It's like where it's like maybe we shouldn't commit to just trying to make as many seasons as possible until no one can stand watching it anymore.
Yeah, well, Always Sunny, and they just did another four seasons of that.
Yeah,
and then Charlie Day's like, "Listen, I want to see us go out in a fizzle, not a bang." Like. Of course you do.
Yeah, I mean he's getting paid.
Yeah,
like that's what it always comes down to.
Yeah,
it's like if you're making money, why would you stop?
Yeah.
Oh, Jerry Seinfeld, though, I guess the exception to the rule, who's just like this show's had enough, and it has to stop.
Yeah, some people understand the.
Yeah, I mean, but
when something needs to die.
Yeah, that's why I get hooked on. I like the shows where it's like it's going to have a definitive beginning and a definitive ending. So. At some point, can be multiple seasons.
Which is
That's
why
fine.
I do like the anthology series. Like I like the idea of American Horror Story. I like the idea of a Fargo.
Yeah.
Another show that I will say is almost horror-esque, but isn't really a horror movie because anytime you throw like murder into there's a creepiness to it. But I love that. I love those type of shows. I just don't like American Horror Story.
Yeah. And that's okay, and that's because a lot of it's. I mean, it's
I can go on I think it's my Ryan Murphy soapbox that I hate a lot of the stuff that he did in Glee.
Okay.
Because I watched like probably the first 2 seasons of Glee, but then he got like super on a soapbox about like Foo Fighters. Oh, we don't want our music in Glee just because they don't like the show. And it's like, well, Dave Grohl he hates because there's homosexuals in the show. It's like,
No, he doesn't. I doubt that's the reason.
Calm down, Ryan Murphy.
It's why, like, some people can't stand the sound of a Glee Club.
Acapella as a lead singer of let me back it down. As a former lead singer of a barbershop quartet.
Oh, nice.
I hate the majority of barbershop quartet and acapella stuff and all that. It's super cheesy. It is the campy of camp. Barbershop is the horror of music.
I like that. That might be the title of the episode. It has nothing to do with it. Barbershop is the
horror of music.
Yeah. I mean, what are you going to do? It's so... Yeah, the American Horror. It's like, but my thing with that is, it's where it has moments where it's like, oh, this could be good, and then it just cheeses itself out of it. And I think that's what you have to do when you're just trying to be an entertaining show, and you can't really go all out because you're on FX. And it's like,
that's
FX
fair.
Gets pretty raunchy.
Yeah, they can,
but it's like, why do they have to try and always add a comedy element to it?
The only thing they're fighting against is advertising.
Yeah,
they just don't want to get too. They don't want to get too raunchy because they don't want to lose advertising.
Yeah, it's like
that's all it is.
That's all it is. But we'll have to wait and see. I mean, I don't know if that show. I guess that show will be coming back.
I would assume
as it does.
A lot of stuff's back in production from what I've seen.
Yeah,
like there's kind of we're full steam ahead. I guess it makes sense if I can quarantine for 14 days and go and do Punta Cana. Why can't someone quarantine for 2 weeks and go and film 6 weeks of a show?
That's what they do. I mean, they do a bubble. We had Adam Sandler was in town filming something, and
shout out to Adam Sandler.
Shout out to Adam Sandler.
Thanks,
Much love.
Friend of the show.
Yeah, big friend of the show. His crew, like not him, but some cast and crew were in a bubble at the Conshohocken Marriott Hotel, and I'm sure he was in his own paid for a bubble of
probably just got him an entire house somewhere. Yeah,
taking care of himself. But that being said, let's call it a day. It has been a pleasure having you on.
Absolutely, it's been a pleasure being here.
Yeah, I mean, and you'll have to come back.
I know where you live.
You do.
For now.
And we'll follow it up from there. So that's all we have for this week's episode of the Red River Horror Podcast. Thank you. And if you would like to come on, if you've got a story to tell, you can reach us at redriverhorror@gmail.com. You can find me at Red River Joe on Twitter. You can check out our main Twitter at Red River Horror. All those good things. And as always, remember to keep traveling those channels of fear.